welcome to this meeting of full council. I am Councillor Lynn Walters, Chairman of the Council, and I will be chairing this meeting. Before we start tonight's business, please can I remind everyone that this meeting is being webcast via the Council's YouTube channel, and please can everyone in the chamber ensure that their mobile phones and devices are switched to silent to avoid any disruption. Please note that we are not expecting any fire alarms. However, in the event of an alarm, please leave via the fire exits and assemble in the car park. This meeting is scheduled for 3 hours, and I would be grateful if speeches are kept to the issue being considered and concise. If members wish to speak this evening, please can you indicate by clearly raising your hand. Members, we have the Council Budget and Council Tax Resolution as our main item of business this evening. I have agreed to reorder the agenda. We will take agenda item 6, questions to the Leader and the Cabinet, after the budget item. I will now proceed to the first item of business, agenda item number 1, apologies for absence. I have received apologies from Councillor Graham Butland, Councillor Iona Parker, Councillor Dennis Abram, Councillor Jackie Pell, Councillor Paul Thorogood, Councillor Ramage and Councillor Dervish. Members, in the absence of Councillor Butland, Councillor Tom Cunningham, as Deputy Leader, will be presenting those reports indicated by Councillor Butland. Are there any further apologies to note for this evening?
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Alt, I believe, is going to be a little bit late arriving. We did speak earlier. Thank you.
Thank you, members. We will proceed to agenda item number 2, declarations of interest. Do any members have a disclosable pecuniary interest or registrable interest or non-registrable interest in which they wish to declare this evening? If so, please state the item and the nature of your interest. Thank you, members. There are no more declarations. We will proceed to agenda item number 3, minutes of the previous meeting. Members, we are being asked to approve the minutes of the meeting of full council held on the 9th of December 2024, which have been circulated to all members and published on the council's website. Please, can I have a proposer to approve the minutes as an accurate record? Councillor Cunningham. Thank you, Councillor Cunningham. And may I seek a seconder? Councillor Bowers. Thank you, Councillor Bowers. Minutes. The minutes have been approved and moved. Oh, I beg your pardon. All those in favour, please raise your hands. All those against. Any members against? Any abstentions? Any abstentions? The minutes are approved. I will now sign the minutes off. Will you bear with me a moment? Thank you, members. We will now proceed to agenda number 4, public question time. Members, we don't have any registered speakers this evening, so I will proceed to agenda item number 5, announcements and statements from myself, the Chairman, and the Leader of the Council. Since the last Council meeting in December, I am pleased to report that I have attended 11 engagements. I hosted my Chairman's Christmas celebration back in December in our beautiful town hall in Braintree, Various community groups and organisations were in attendance, and we had the pleasure of enjoying a Christmas service of festive songs performed by Great Bradford's Junior School Choir. They were brilliant and so enthusiastic. It was wonderful. The Deputy Lord Lieutenant, who also participated in the service, delivered a lovely Christmas poem, and the charity raffle was a remarkable success, and funds from the raffle were donated to the Braintree Salvation Army and Braintree Rethink. I attended the Jack Petchey Foundation Awards. This was also an amazing event, and I was pleased to see the achievements of our young people being recognised and celebrated. I had the honour of giving a speech at the Democracy Day held at Causeway House here in this room, actually, earlier this month, and the children from the local primary schools were in attendance to learn more about democracy, the purpose of elections, and how the council works. There was even a mock vote for them, and another fantastic initiative by the council. Well done to all those involved, and the children thoroughly enjoyed it, and they were very enthusiastic. I would like to now invite Councillor Tom Cunningham, Deputy Leader of the Council, to make any announcements. Councillor Cunningham.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. With your permission, I'd like to make two statements, one on the English Devolution White Paper and the other on the Wethersfield site. First of all, relating to the English Devolution White Paper. On 5th of February, the Government confirmed that Essex County Council, Southend-on-Sea City Council and Thurrock Council had their requests to be part of the Devolution Priority Programme confirmed. This follows the three councils writing to the Government on Friday the 10th of January, requesting inclusion on the programme and committing to local government reorganisation. The Government has also confirmed that the elections scheduled for May this year for Essex County Council and Thurrock Council will be suspended. Essex leaders and chief executives met on the 14th of February in part to explore the criteria set by government for proposals on local government reorganisation. The local government minister has stressed the importance of areas working together to avoid competing proposals if possible. As such, a process has been agreed to draft an initial proposal to be submitted to government by the 21st of March. Leaders have formed cross-party working groups looking at issues such as geography, size, number, and the value for money for new unitary councils. The working groups will also explore how best to meet local needs through the delivery of quality public services, recognising the importance of community and identity. The work will also consider how devolution can be supported, which will see powers and funding from government devolved to a new strategic authority with an elected mayor in 2026. Last week, the Government launched its public consultation on the proposals for Greater Essex. Leaders have also recognised the need for a clear understanding with the Government on existing council debts and how they will be handled. There will be a further meeting of Essex leaders and chief executives this coming Friday, the 28th of February. Members will be aware that an extraordinary meeting of the Council has been scheduled for the 13th of March on this issue, and before then, a briefing on 5th of March to all members will provide an opportunity for members to be updated on the latest developments and ask questions. Detailed proposals are required by the 26th of September 2025. Regarding the Wethersfield site, at the start of February, the Home Office informed this Council all outstanding conditions of the Special Development Order, which capped the population at Wethersfield Asylum Centre to 580, had been met. 2 weeks ago, the Home Office started to intake up to 60 people weekly, and this will continue until capacity hits 800. We have been told to expect this may take around 8 weeks to achieve. The Home Office has been preparing for this eventuality since April 2024. The Multi-Agency Forum, which was set up by Braintree District Council and comprises key agencies concerned with the asylum centre and continues to provide support and oversight, helping the Home Office to support a safely run site for the wider community as well as the men living in the centre. We are in constant dialogue with the Home Office and the site operator to ensure that concerns are being heard and addressed. Increasing the population to 800 will not be an automatic process. There will be checks at increments up to this number to ensure that all parts of the site's operations are running smoothly before the total number on site rises. Many of the discretionary activities initially funded by Braintree District Council through the Large Sites Grant are now paid for by the Home Office. This is in addition to a number of other activities that have now been established. Council officers have now had sight of the Home Office documentation on the outstanding conditions. Some of these have also appeared on the government's website. Checks are ongoing to ensure that BDC is satisfied the Home Office has filled the conditions set by the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government. Despite representation from Braintree District Council and others, there has still been no indication of the site's future. We will continue to ask Home Office representatives for a decision to be made on this to give our communities clarity. In terms of community funding, we are continuing to progress improvements to the area with Essex Highways. There are specific interventions that the Home Office have permitted as part of the Large Sites Asylum grant monies to be spent on. These include traffic calming measures, improvements to the entrance of the site on Sculpins Lane, and work to the footpath adjacent to the B1053 between Finchingfield and Wethersfield. Since the last council meeting, I'm pleased to announce that a small grant to benefit Wethersfield Museum is at an advanced stage. We will continue to keep this council updated on further developments. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Cunningham. Members, we will now proceed to agenda item 7, dispensation under section 85 of the Local Government Act 1972. As I advised at the start of the meeting, agenda item 6 will be taken after the budget item. Members, the report for this item is set out on pages 5 to 7 of the agenda. Please can I invite Councillor Cunningham, Deputy Leader of the Council, to present the report and move the recommendation.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Very happy to move the recommendation as set out on the agenda paper, and in doing so we wish very best wishes to Councillor Abraham. There's a lot of affection across the Council chamber for Councillor Abraham. We are very, very sorry that he's in poor health, and we look forward to the day, hopefully not too far in the distant future, when he's back with us and in strong voice. But very happy to move this dispensation and wish him well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cunningham. Councillor Cunningham has moved the recommendation is as set out on the report. Please can I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Beavis. I would like to now invite Councillor Cunningham to speak on this matter.
Madam Chair, apologies, I prejudged your invitation, so I've spoken already. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cunningham. Do any members wish to speak on this item? If so, please indicate by raising your hand. Please keep your hand raised until we have acknowledged it. Thank you. Councillor Beavis, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Cunningham, for your words. And I would just like to confirm that myself and Councillor Walsh have been to Colchester Hospital on many occasions over the last few months. Dennis is now home, but it will come to no surprise to you all that he's given the nurses and doctors an absolute run around the hospital and reading every copy of every newspaper that he can get hold of. But what he did say to me, and this is sincerely said, that he wishes everybody at the council, his chums as he put it, a good year ahead, and he does hope to be back in the council chamber in the not too distant future. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, members. The recommendation is set out on page 5 of the agenda, has been moved and seconded. All those in favour of the recommendation, please indicate. This is unanimous. Recommendation has been approved. Members, we will now proceed to agenda item 8, leaders' appointments. Member, the report for this is set out on pages 8 to 9 of the agenda and is for noting. Please can I invite Councillor Tom Cunningham, Deputy Leader of the Council, to present the report. Councillor Cunningham.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. The report is as set out. I would just like to make one verbal change that didn't quite reach the print deadline and wasn't included. So I'd like just to draw colleagues' attention to the entry for Councillor Richard Van Dulken. What it should say is Deputy Cabinet Member to this portfolio, but also Lead Cabinet Member for Environment and Waste Strategy. And it just, that reflects on a slight reorganisation of work within the portfolio. So I'd ask colleagues if they wouldn't mind just acknowledging that, and that change could be incorporated into the minutes. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Councillor Cunningham. Do any members wish to speak on this item? If so, please indicate by raising your hand, and keep your hand raised until you have been acknowledged by the monitoring officer. Thank you, members. Please can I ask the members to note the report? Thank you, members. We will now proceed to agenda item 9, the council budget and council tax for 2025-26 and medium-term financial strategy for 25-26 to 2028 to 2029. Members, the information for this item is set out for the council budget and council tax report, the addendum report for 2028-2029 and the council tax resolution for 2025-2026. I can confirm there are no amendments to the council budget that have been received. Members, as you have been advised by the briefing notes circulated last week, this item will be jointly presented by Councillor Tom Cunningham as Deputy Leader and Councillor Kevin Bowers as Cabinet Member for Finance, Resources and Performance. Please can I remind members that the recommendation for this item is set out over 3 reports. The recommendations for the Council's budget are on pages 10 and 11, and the agenda for the recommendation for the Council tax resolution is on page 17. I would like to invite Councillor Cunningham to move the recommendation for full council. Please can I remind you before you make your speech, it must be seconded by Councillor Cunningham.
I formally move the budget recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cunningham. Councillor Bowers, are you seconding the recommendations?
Yes, Madam Chairman, I formally second.
Thank you, Councillor Bowers. Councillor Cunningham and Councillor Bowers, please commence your presentation of the budget.
Madam Chairman, thank you. And on behalf of the administration, I introduce the budget for Braintree District Council 25-26. Budget that protects frontline services, freezes charges, keeps council tax low, and reaffirms a local Conservative Party commitment to support residents, communities and our local economy across the district of Braintree, and be ready for any future changes and challenges. In doing so, we acknowledge the work and thank all those involved in the budget at officer level and at member level across the council. And if I could say a special thank you to Councillor Bowers and the leader. It has become a standing observation in recent years to say that we set a budget in difficult times against a difficult backdrop, and this year is no different. That is certainly the case as we continue to provide services across 612 square miles of the Braintree district, square kilometres of the district, and the 4th most populated district in the county of Essex. This time last year and before, we were given many promises by a Labour government aspiring to government, one of them being not a penny more on council tax. And since the second week of July 2024, we've had a tax on pensioners, farmers, independent schools, and any employer, either in the private or public sector, thanks to the increase in national insurance. The pulling of such policy levers has had a profound impact, and this is very much in our thinking as we set this budget. Difficult times lie ahead, and we need to do what we can to support residents through this. I'm very pleased that our balanced budget is making considerable investments in the areas that matter to all residents. Thanks to sound financial Conservative management, we are able to invest over £500,000 into landscape services, including proactive tree management, new rapid response teams for litter, A120 cleaning, project management and delivery. More money for litter and dog bins. More money for prudent spending when dealing with the risk of planning appeals. An extra £100,000 for climate change projects. More money to meet the challenges of preventing and managing homelessness. Continuing our capital programme, including investment in Witham and Halstead. A community asset fund to improve our assets across the whole district. £500,000 to respond to the growing pressure on the availability of temporary housing accommodation. £4.5 million to meet the challenges of waste collection system changes, improving recycling, and part funded by £1.3 million of the Extender Producer Responsibility Payment from government, based on government directives for the need to change our waste collection systems. The Cost of Living Fund that was set up in 2023 rolled over to support the most vulnerable in our district, and the continuation of the Councillors' Community Grant, providing vital support to our communities through the local work of members. And there's much more, including freezing charges, and particularly worth noting the first bin of the all-year-round garden subscription service collected bi-weekly, which has been frozen this year. And my colleagues will be saying more on these areas of investment as we proceed through the debate. This time last year, we talked about change and planning for the future, reflecting on our transformation programme. With the government announcements and the prioritisation of Essex and the government's devolution programme, it is only right that efforts that were focused on shared service arrangements and service designed for district councils pause, with a view to switch to a focus to unitary council service delivery. I'm pleased to say that despite that, we will continue with our service review programme, and we at BDC continue to be leaders in the wider transformation programme across Essex. Our plans for Causeway House will also need to be reflected on. However, some minor improvements that mean a better working environment for us to continue with the vital work of this council for the next 2, possibly 3 years, and can then be consolidated into new arrangements in the future, will progress, while other changes will be paused. The Transformation Reserve remains healthy and can serve this vital work in the upcoming months, and we approach the changes knowing our financial resilience is extremely strong. We have healthy balances and a level of debt much lower than many comparable authorities with strong assets working for our residents. We will be ready and able to meet the future challenges on the road ahead, and this budget and our sound financial management and a record of ensuring good value will help ensure that. We welcome the change from government and the much needed powers and funding that devolution will bring, unlocking untapped potential of a great county and helping us locally make the switch in economic productivity, which will keep unemployment levels low but see more of our residents in better paid, better skilled jobs. This was also an ambition of the last Conservative government. We know that the two-tier system, for its benefits in terms of scale of some services across the county level, and that community connection we have at district, does have its limitations, and making it work has become ever more challenging, and there is great scope to do better. We are also mindful of the unique relationship this council has with our communities, and we know that any concerns over any potential disconnect with residents must be addressed in any new council arrangements. In setting the council tax, acknowledging the pressures on local government and circumstances outside our control, a 2.97% increase equating to an extra 11p a week for a Band D property demonstrates our efficiency and a desire to continue to do more for our residents. This remains one of the lowest council takes in the county. We, on this side, and I know the leader would associate himself with these comments, remain enormously proud to be the administration of Braintree District Council. We also remember the service given by local government and this council 5 short years ago from the spring of 2020 during the pandemic, and the decisions and work that we all had to undertake. Emphasising the connection we at Braintree District Council have with communities and our businesses. The impacts of that dark period are still with us, and it's with that in mind in which we continue to set budgets. And above all else, we share with colleagues on all sides an overwhelming pride to be elected to this council. There is an inherent decency about this organisation and a passion for service that we share for our residents in this wonderful part of the world. both shared by both members from all sides and our tremendous officer team, who approach their work with unrivalled enthusiasm and sincerity. We are mindful and sensitive over concerns for the future, felt by those inside and outside the organisation regarding any future changes. But we will meet those challenges with the overwhelming determination to ensure the values and qualities of this council and those that serve it help shape future arrangements. And this is the message we'll continue to champion. In the meantime, this is a budget to serve our fellow residents with continued purpose and passion. We never forget that our residents come first. It is their hard-earned money we spend. We are on their side. We continue with the work, and that's what underpins this budget that I'm very proud to move this evening. Thank you.
Councillor Vowers.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Cunningham, for your speech introducing the 2025-26 budget for the Braintree District. I'm proud to stand here and to be setting out our plan for 2025-26 to protect essential services, outline investment into the community and targeted support for residents, deliver on priorities while continuing to deliver necessary savings and the long-term financial sustainability of council services. Due to prudent financial management over many years, the council will be investing more into a range of services while also balancing the books. As members will be aware, this council prides itself on our transparent budget process, giving all members across the chamber the opportunity to comment and ask questions as we move through the process, which ultimately ends up at full council tonight, with the chance to speak and to vote on the final proposals for 2025-26. That process over a number of months has included 2 corporate scrutiny committees, Cabinet as well as full council tonight. A huge amount of work goes into the budget setting each year, and I would like to thank the finance team who have worked tirelessly, not just on this budget, though all through each financial year to keep us on a sound financial footing. This is seen on many occasions during the year with reports presented to the Governance and Audit Committee, Cabinet and full council. Following on from that, I would just like to give a special mention to Suzanne Bennett, our Corporate Director with the responsibility for finance, and a big personal thank you to Phil Myers, our excellent Section 151 officer, who provides not just support for me, though for the whole council, and is someone we are lucky to have at Braintree District Council. Now, moving on to the detail of the budget. Since the council agreed its budget for 24-25, the economic backdrop has altered, with inflation falling from a recent peak of 11.1% down to a level which is closer to the government's target, and the Bank of England has started to reduce interest rates, albeit at a slower pace. Global events, however, continue to mean uncertainty, volatility and risk. A combination of a higher than expected take-up of the garden waste subscription service and additional income from investments has resulted in the projected budget shortfall for 25-26 reducing from that forecast in February 2024. However, the council continues to face cost pressures due to higher pay settlements, inflation and demand for services. Significant budget pressures and challenges remain over the medium term, and while an expected return to multi-year financial settlements from 2026-27 is to be welcomed, there are additional financial challenges anticipated from the government's proposed reform to the local government finance system. This is set in the wider context for greater devolution and potential local government reorganisation. Details of the final local government finance settlement were received on the 3rd of February 2025. This confirmed the previous allocations that were set out in the provisional local government finance settlement published on the 18th of December 2024. Included in the final settlement was the compensation amount to be paid for the increase in national insurance costs as a result of the changes announced by the Chancellor of the Exchequer in the autumn budget in 2024. An initial estimate of the compensation amount had been made in the budget proposals for 2025-26. However, this was caveated by the fact that at the time of compiling the budget, insufficient information was available to determine an accurate estimate. An amount of £300,000 had been allowed against the increase in cost of £472,000. The actual amount of compensation means the amount to be received is £122,508 less than was estimated. Just to clarify, only £177,492 of the NI increase for the council of £472,000 has been compensated by government. It is proposed that this shortfall is added to the £361,385 which was to be used from general balances to achieve a balanced budget for 2025-26, taking the total amount of general balances to be used for this purpose to £483,893. The actual compensation amount will also impact on the assumptions in the medium-term financial strategy, resulting in the projected budget gap for 26-27 increasing from 2.026 million to 2.185 million. Core spending power is used to illustrate the resources which government calculates are available to each local authority to deliver services. For Shire District Councils, the core spending power consists of business rates and revenue support grant, collectively referred to as the settlement funding assessment, assumed income from council tax, new homes bonus and other grants. Part of the core spending power is provided as cash grants, whereas other elements such as council tax and business rates are provided as notional sums which government anticipates each authority will generate. The governance assessment of core spending power for Braintree is effectively the same as for 2024-25, though the headline national average increase in core spending power was 6%. The main element of increased spending power is from the assumed increase in council tax, reflecting an increase in tax base and applying the maximum percentage increase before a referendum is required. While funding has been allocated as a result of a funding floor, the approach adopted results in a significant reduction in cash terms from the previous guarantee. New homes bonus is included in core spending power, although the council has traditionally not used this to support the revenue account on day-to-day spending. The funding floor, which ensures that no local authority has a core spending power less than 2024-25, takes into account changes in entitlement to new homes bonus. The addendum report sets out the financial implications and updated budget proposal for 2025-26, and the MTFS taking into account the amount of compensation to be received against the increased cost of employers' national insurance from April 2025. Councillor Cunningham referenced many of the headlines of where we propose to invest in 2025-26. Following on from that, we are delivering our existing capital programme, around about £16 million, which includes a new Witham Community Centre, improvements to Househead and Witham Town Centres, 3G artificial pitches and further investment in a wide range of community and operational facilities. A further £1.6 million added for 2025-26, with over £1 million into essential life cycle investment for property, ICT and operational equipment, and circa £340,000 for play areas, sports facilities, litter and waste bins, etc. Disabled facilities and other housing related grants of £1.4 million. It is proposed that the new homes bonus receivable for 2025-26, combined with the remaining uncommitted balance of around £1 million from prior years, is allocated for the following purposes. A community asset fund of £1.5 million to provide funding for investment into community assets. Opportunities will be explored to deliver capital improvements to community assets across the district. I am pleased that we have identified £1.5 million from the Council's new homes bonus funds to support the maintenance and sustainability of assets that our communities value. From leisure centres to community halls to heritage assets, community buildings support our communities by providing places to meet, for services to be delivered from and reference points for our community's identity. I will confirm a process early in the new year to confirm how the funds will be allocated and will bring a paper through Cabinet to agree the process of spending the funds. I'm sure members will agree with me this is an important investment in the future of our communities and will secure the future of many community assets for years to come. Housing initiatives, with £500,000 being set aside to provide extra one-off funding to respond in the most appropriate way to the growing pressures on the availability of temporary housing accommodation. Sustainable capital programme, recognising that existing capital resources are largely committed, the balance of £554,272 to be used alongside any other capital resources generated to maintain an active and responsive capital investment programme. We have also provisionally allocated £4.5 million in our investment plans to deliver the necessary changes to waste collection arrangements in order to meet new legislation and increase recycling rates, as referenced by Councillor Cunningham. This expenditure will in part be met from new government funding. The changes to be made are subject to the outcome of the current public consultation and then consideration by the Cabinet to a final business case. Doing nothing, though, is not an option, and therefore we will need to make investment in this service. In relation to supporting our communities, cost of living fund balance to be rolled over, working with partners to continue to deliver support and help. 339,000 to be invested in a new round of projects and initiatives using shared prosperity funding and extra resources being provided to help embed and sustain existing projects. Funding to key partners such as the Citizens Advice, Museum Trust and parish councils. Council community grants to be maintained. Over £8 million of support to low-income households of both working and pension age through the local council tax support scheme. An exceptional hardship fund and extra support on housing-related costs through the discretionary housing payments fund. Whilst the council is able to set a balanced budget for 2025-26, a budget gap increasing up to around £3 million per annum is projected by 2028-29. Doing nothing to deal with the annual budget shortfall currently projected would mean having to use nearly £8 million of balances to be able to set a legal budget. A volatile and uncertain world will continue. Inflationary pressures and increased demand for council services means the financial pressures will only grow. Our strong financial management and work to find savings and efficiencies over many years means we are not having to make huge cuts this year or introduce significant additional charges for non-statutory service like other councils, but there are still difficult decisions ahead. We are of course always reluctant to increase council tax, but this is essential to help protect statutory services, ensure that unavoidable cost pressures can be met this year and to support our longer term financial stability. That said, our council tax will still be one of the lowest in Essex. We have been able to produce a balanced budget due to additional income and savings of £2.1 million, mainly from Treasury Management and Garden Waste Service and other commercial income. Discretionary fees and charges have been reviewed and proposed increases reflect cost of services, comparative data, statutory limitations and service needs. However, we have frozen car parking charges and the garden waste subscription. Our Fit for the Future programme has been devised to address the MTFS shortfall. The budget also sets out the policies to be applied to encourage empty homes and second homes to be brought back into use for housing, supporting our overall housing strategy. We are continuing to support businesses by providing discretionary business rate reliefs to retail, hospitality and leisure and small businesses impacted by the last revaluation. In conclusion, Madam Chairman, the 2025-26 budget for Braintree District Council will protect essential services, outline investment into the community and targeted support for residents, deliver on priorities while continuing to deliver necessary savings and the long-term financial sustainability of council services. The council will be investing more into a range of services whilst also balancing the books. Due to prudent financial management over many years, the council is able to ensure no cuts to services and is freezing charges for car parking and the garden waste subscription service. This is despite continued inflationary impacts and rising demand for services. It will see over £3 million investment into cleaner and greener streets, improving community assets, funding boosts for community projects and addressing growing pressures around the temporary housing accommodation. And I hope this is a budget that members will be able to support tonight. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Bowers and Councillor Cunningham, for your presentation. Members, the recommendation has been moved and seconded. Before I open the debate, please can I remind members that they may only speak once during the debate, and you are speaking on the budget and the council tax resolution. Speeches should be no longer than 5 minutes, and I will curtail any speeches which are excessive and depart from the matter under discussion. Do any members wish to speak on this item? Please indicate by raising your hand, and keep your hands raised until you have been acknowledged by the monitoring officer. Thank you for your patience, councillors. I would like to call Councillor Beavis.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. And I acknowledge the process of the 25-26 budget proposals. Conservative budget, I'm not quite sure it's a Conservative budget, it's a council budget. And I'm just mindful that our members are made up of cross-party members and we've all supported the process. I want to thank the officers, the cabinet members, and also the chairman of scrutiny, who I thought did an absolutely fabulous job actually through this process, and offering all members the opportunity to work with him first, you know, as well, to make sure that we were getting all of our questions answered. I also wanted to thank our town and parish councillors, and just recognising that actually they are the volunteers and working on their precepts of 3.5 million, which is a sizable sum of money. I will be supporting the budget. It's a low tax budget, which I support at 11 pence a week. I welcome there are no cuts to services, and I welcome there are no cuts to our town and our parish councils. Fit for the future, I really hope that it does find the solutions to deliver the budget gaps that we're looking for. And in recognising the budget, I'm pleased to see that we consider the cost of living crisis and also the COVID recovery, which I think both are still very apparent. And I support the continuation of our councillor grants. I'm pleased about the new homes bonus and the creation of the £1.5 million community asset fund, and I appreciate that has got to be worked up and it will go through the process of cabinet. Councillor Bowers spoke about the new year, and I trust he means now. Otherwise I might have a problem supporting the budget, but no, I thought that was just an early word sorted out before tonight's meeting. But yeah, as I say, Madam Chairman, I will be supporting tonight's budget, and I look forward to hearing a lot more about the 1.5 Community Asset Fund. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Beavis. Councillor Cunningham. Mary Cunningham, I beg your pardon.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. 5 years ago, about now, we were learning that low numbers of UK residents were infected with coronavirus. And as we all know, this led to 2 years of a disruption of the type most of us had never witnessed or experienced before, locally or nationally, where the council's resources were severely stretched. The crisis and slow recovery of the pandemic led us straight into the Ukraine crisis, and Braintree Council played a full part in supporting Ukraine families who came to this district to seek refuge, and indeed we still support today. This ran alongside the start of the energy crisis, where our residents were really feeling the cost of rising prices, not only in energy, but in all goods, particularly food. In all these unforeseen global issues, which were literally thrown at this authority, this council was extremely resilient in dealing with the significant financial challenges and what still remains a significant challenge. Our communities team have continued throughout to provide the most valuable and much needed help to our whole district, whether it be directly or through our community partners, and we say a huge thank you to them all. And after 5 years, we are still able to grant further support through the Cost of Living Fund. As we roll into our second year, we are in the early stages of setting up a community supermarket, which will be rolled out to rural areas. We are providing in excess of 600 electric blankets for those who are impacted by the winter fuel payment. We are starting round 2 of the small and micro grant scheme, having rolled out similar last year. We have been able to provide a very informative guidance booklet for residents to access help and advice around the loss of the winter fuel payment. We have been able to provide a designated cost of living officer to seek out areas which need support. I'm also really pleased that we are still able to keep in this budget the councillor community grants. I know how much members value these, and they give local support to small and larger groups who provide a variety of recreational, health and well-being benefits and much needed equipment to groups across our district. From dance mirrors to defibrillators, from camping trips to choirs, from fence panels to first aid training, from boxing to bowls, the list is endless that you have been able to support. I'm also very pleased too in this budget that we are able to continue providing advice and support, including a money advice service in partnership with the Citizens Advice, an organisation that we have supported for a number of years and can continue to support, and right across the district we are seeing the benefit of their advice, whilst also we are able to support the Braintree Museum Trust and their valuable work. I think this is a budget that this authority and this administration can be rightly very proud of. As we move forward to face further challenges, we are considerably better placed than a number of our neighbours to face those challenges. I fully support this budget, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Mrs Cunningham. I'd like to call Councillor Diamond, please.
I did have a brief question, but I realise you might not be able to answer me immediately. I apologise if I picked the wrong forum for that. What specific assumptions underpin the updated estimates and adjustments to the discretionary fees and charges? And what steps have been undertaken to ensure that this methodology is transparent and open to public scrutiny? I understand that can't be answered immediately, but thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Diamond. I'd like to call Councillor Holland.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I rise to warmly welcome the allocation within this very well thought through budget of £1.5 million to improve community assets. It's essential that we recognise that assets don't just need building. They need, and perhaps less glamorously, maintaining and sometimes improving. And these assets can be at the heart of our efforts to facilitate community building. By investing in our community assets, we are building a stronger, more resilient district for both current and future generations. But these are uncertain times around devolution and local government reform. This new allocation of funds is timely and will help ensure that no matter what reform takes place, any new authority will inherit community assets that are fit for purpose. This will ensure that local government reform does not negatively impact the service delivery and the community nurture that these assets deliver across all settlements. Elsewhere in the budget before us is set out this council's continued support of councillor community grants. As a councillor representing a very rural group of communities, I can attest to just how important these grants can be to supporting the community building hubs in sometimes very small and quite isolated rural settlements. Across my own ward, our village halls have benefited from such councillor community grants. Now, I've often heard the Leader of the Opposition argue that funding support for community facilities goes disproportionately to urban centres in the south. But surely, far from indicating some sort of unfairness, that's understandable. Urban centres are where most of the residents of Braintree district live. The population density geography of the district is highly diverse, as are the social needs and the challenges. I live in a village with a population the size of a single street in a development in Braintree or Witham. Its community is strong, coherent, predominantly self-reliant and resilient. It has a small, much loved and attractive village hall. Support for such facilities can come not just from a central pot, but also from our councillor-directed community grants, and it's incumbent on each and every one of us to ensure we direct and allocate all grants that we can muster to support such assets, no matter how large or small the community. I say this, in saying this, it is right that I'm looking across the chamber at the opposition groups, because I'm aware that many of them in rural wards have not targeted their community council grants on benefiting local organisations and the rural community assets they say they support. But this should not be a party political point. The budget before us again provides the funding through which we can support our community assets across both urban and rural settlements. I commend them, those who devise such a right-minded budget. I call upon us all to ensure that all available funding gets directed to ensure that community assets right across this district are supported to the greatest extent we can. For these and many other reasons, Madam Chair, I wholeheartedly support this budget.
Thank you, Councillor Holland. May I call Councillor Ayton?
Thank you, Madam Chair. How much disability funding has the Council received from Essex County Council, and what new projects does it intend to spend that money on?
Thank you, Councillor Ayton. I'd like to call Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I rise today to speak about a good budget, a budget that respects the local taxpayer here in Braintree. It's a budget that keeps council tax low and continues our reputation and our policy of sound financial management of this council's finances. Whilst other councils across the country have raised their council tax beyond the referendum threshold, we have been able to keep council tax low with no increase to fees for council services, all whilst delivering no cuts to the services our residents rely upon. This, Madam Chair, is in stark contrast to this national Labour government that seems intent on hiking tax at every turn, taking money out of the pockets of working people. Whether that be their jobs tax, the increase in national insurance contributions for employers, their family farm tax, cutting agricultural property relief, destroying the livelihoods of those in our rural communities, or the education tax, the VAT on independent school fees. The jobs tax in particular threatens residents in Bocking South, particularly our pubs and small businesses. Local Conservatives, on the other hand, believe that families in Braintree should keep more of what they earn. By keeping council tax low, freezing parking charges, and also freezing our garden waste subscription, we are doing this. This is the fundamental difference between the Conservatives and Labour on the other side. We believe in low tax, cost-efficient government and affordable council services for all. What do the other side believe, Madam Chair? Leader of the Opposition has just stood up and said she'll support our budget, which I very much welcome. In that case, I mean, probably sitting on this side of the chamber, but there we go. They've submitted no amendments to our budget. They have no plan. Their only plan is to hike taxes on working people. We believe in keeping council tax low. They believe in making residents poorer. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Councillor Spray.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. I just want to say a few words about planning fees. I did take a question on this at the recent scrutiny committee on the budget and answered it, but just for those who weren't there, didn't hear this, just a little word on this. It's probably stating the obvious, but planning income depends on the number of applications coming in, and especially what we would call the large applications. They attract a higher fee and also additional income from the pre-application service, which is part of that process. In an uncertain housing market, developers are perhaps understandably reluctant to bring developments forward. There are a number of challenges, mortgage rates, for example, which make people reluctant perhaps to buy a house. That makes developers reluctant to bring schemes forward. There is also an acknowledged shortage of manpower, literally the number of people available on sites to build, and also difficulty in obtaining building materials. And depending on your point of view, both of those things can be attributed to some of the knock-on effects from Brexit. However, one very good piece of news is that the government have allowed us to increase planning fees, something that this authority has been lobbying for quite some time. It will help bridge the budget gap. It won't fill it completely because, although not everybody is aware, planning fees don't actually cover the full cost of processing applications and the officer time involved. But it will certainly help. It's very welcome. And I think if, and it is an if, the economy picks up, things begin to look a bit brighter, and if the confidence in the housing market is restored, then we can expect to see more planning applications for development come forward, and that in turn will increase our income. The one goes with the other. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Spray. May I call upon Councillor Abbott?
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Councillor Edwards, once he's got down from his political high horse, might recall that our group have submitted amendments to the budget in previous years, but on this occasion we didn't, because we sought assurances. We had a meeting with officers about the budget and we felt there was enough in there that we didn't need to do that. And the difference between us and his side is that we look on things on a case-by-case basis. So had there been a reason to submit amendments, we might well have done that. Councillor Holland, I would suggest he goes back and checks his geographical distribution of residents in the district. I don't think he got that right. And also be interesting to see his analysis of the rural spend on council community grants, because I know that myself and many of our colleagues are very keen to try and get grants to local groups, and we do so on a regular basis. So, Madam Chairman, this is a steady-as-you-go budget with some items to be welcomed and some to be questioned. Services are to be maintained, which is a good thing, but as is now standard, council tax is going up by almost 3%. So whilst the cost of living is still biting, this is an additional cost many will not welcome. The medium-term financial strategy gap is projected at 2.9 million at 28-29, but obviously all bets are off on that, because this council, based on the agenda of Essex leaders, may not even exist then. There are many uncertainties about local government reform affecting finances going forward, and we wonder in that regard about the debts of Thurrock, which under a Conservative administration racked up colossal debts, and that the government says that councils should pay for local government reform. A figure of 25 million was mentioned for each unitary at the recent Essex County Council seminar. Perhaps in his reply to this debate, the Deputy Leader of the Council could tell us where that's going to come from. Also, I'm not preempting the results of the bin consultation, but 4.5 million on new bins, when we don't know what the shape of the new unitaries and their collection processes might be. And the incineration tax. This is an issue which I think is going to be much more in our sights in years to come. £25 million a year, roughly, Essex has got to find to pay for the wonderful incinerator they're building at Rivenhall Airfield and its burning of waste and emissions. It's good to see that many items that we in the ING group have consistently called for are in the budget. Council of Community Grant remains as before, as does Parish Street Cleaning Grant. That's both very welcome. There is money for the endless and thankless task of yet again cleaning the A120, but not the A12, and I wonder why this administration keeps skipping that. I invite any members who haven't done recently to go along the A12 and admire the linear landfill on both sides of the road that exists pretty much from London to Ipswich. It's a disgrace. Can we have some more emphasis on that, please? Councillor Edwards, I'll return to him because he did say we had no plan. Well, of course, there is something in this budget which was our plan, and we're very pleased, and that's why on this occasion we're voting for this budget. The 1.5 million Community Assets Fund is exactly what we proposed last year from New Homes Bonus. Well, to have a look at what the amendment said to the budget last year. So we're very pleased that our plan is in the budget, and proof, as Councillor Beevers said, that this is more of a cross-party budget than a Conservative one. We'll be very interested to see how the bids to that can be made across the district. Councillor Bowers mentioned that. We'd like to see the detail. There's plenty of projects I'd like to see in there, such as solar panels on Rivenhall Village Hall, solar panels on Silver End Village Hall, and of course the long-standing Bowls Club parking, which he keeps rejecting. It's now been rejected 3 years in a row. He refers to it as a private members club when he knows that's not true. Solar PV at Witham Leisure Centre is very welcome, and so, as I just mentioned, can we see that wider across the district? £50,000 for dog and litter bins is very welcome. Perhaps in their responses, could they say what the bidding process is against that budget? Because we've been told up until quite recently the whole thing was in review, so I'm assuming that money's in the budget, we can start bidding against that money. There is a lack of specific funding for tree planting. Could the extra £100,000 that's in the climate change budget be allocated specifically for that? The budget papers referred to tree planting projects in Braintree, which is part of the course, but we need a district-wide approach on tree planting. Trees are good for nature and for people and offer significant carbon sequestration. And finally, Madam Chairman, I couldn't help mentioning, because it's there on page 121 and 122, mention is made of Donald Trump. And it says there are uncertainties around the impacts of President Trump's policies. Very true, but perhaps a very big understatement. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Abbott. I'd like to call Councillor Van Dolkin.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I also, as you might imagine, support this budget and very pleased to see that so far there is good support across the House. In particular, I'd just like to mention the Pride of Place, which Councillor Cunningham did mention in his introduction. These initiatives, which feature the £50,000 in extra funding for dog and litter bins, a new rapid response team. Some of us will remember the Rangers. I love that name, but that disappeared. That was a shame. So that's going to be brought back, and I think certainly in some of our rural areas we will find that very useful. And the continued funding of the majority of town and parish councils to help them look after their areas in the form of the street cleaning agreements. As always, Braintree Council does its utmost to look after the rural areas as much as it does the towns. And I said again, I support this budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Van Dolkin. Councillor Coleridge.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm pleased to stand here and support the budget for 25-26, and in particular how the new homes bonus will be utilised in the forthcoming period. It is worth remembering that the new homes bonus is a government initiative designed to incentivise local councils to increase housing supply and support the development of our communities. Here in the Braintree district, we are committed to using the funding wisely and strategically, ensuring that it benefits every resident in the area and will not be used to balance any deficit. I am sure our residents would also expect to see any financial uplift created by new homes is invested back into all communities which are seeing pressures on their infrastructure. As a district, we have experienced consistent growth with more homes being built to meet the rising demand for housing. These new homes are not just addresses, they represent opportunities for young families, first-time buyers and retirees to settle in an area that offers a high quality of life, excellent public services and a strong sense of community. I welcome £500,000 being set aside for use for temporary accommodation needs, as it is clear the demands on the council are only likely to increase and we need to have funding and strategy to meet these challenges as they arise. I've seen for myself the unfortunate situations that residents can encounter, and it is the council's duty to support them at their most vulnerable time, and therefore any investment into this area will provide significant social benefits. It is also pleasing to see £1.5 million being invested into the Community Asset Fund. The council will explore opportunities which generate significant community benefit, and all councillors have an opportunity to use their knowledge they have of their areas to support this programme. As we move forward into the coming financial year, I'm confident that through these investments, powered by the new homes bonus, we will see a profound and lasting impact on our district. We're committed to ensuring that the growth, our housing supply, is not just an economic opportunity, but a chance to improve our community environment and the quality of life for each single resident. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Coleridge. Councillor Walsh.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Overall, I support, as do my colleagues, this budget. It is, of course, a council budget for local government. It doesn't belong to one party. It's the result of a lot of tremendous work by officers, and I commend much of the processes of this council, including the work that we do, which is non-partisan, constructive and inclusive on the Governance and Audit Scrutiny Committee. So I was a bit disappointed that a couple of colleagues on the other side of the House, for example, Councillor Edwards and Councillor Cunningham, couldn't resist the temptation to bang on about the policies of the national government, things which are entirely out with our remit and out with our control. You forgot in your list to mention that recently inflation was 11%, that there was a reported £22 billion shorthold on change of government, and you explicitly left out the kamikaze budget. So if you're going to claim credit for Conservative policies, at least give an honest and comprehensive list. Coming to more specific and local matters, which is, I think, the purpose of this council, I think Councillor Cunningham referred to freezing charges, but I don't think he clarified that, of course, in the budget and over the last year, we've introduced an entirely new charge, that for green bins, now being doubled in the second year. And I note we're spending 4.5 million on changes to waste collection, but only an additional extra 100k on the all-important climate change situation. And of course, while I welcome and I do appreciate that we're now going to be collecting glass and getting rid of the paper sacks, we're going to be reducing the frequency of the black bin collection from 2 weeks to 3 weeks. And I hope that there won't be unintended environmental consequences from the new garden waste charge, and indeed from reducing the frequency of unrecyclable materials. Lastly, I do have a question. We had an interesting members' development evening, as they often are, as they usually are last week, on planning obligations and Section 106 contributions. Given that we now have 11.293 million in total in our Section 106 contributions as of January this year, can we advise now or subsequently, maybe in a written response, whether this total is in fact increasing or decreasing? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Walsh. Councillor Mason.
Thank you, Councillor Burridge and Councillor Cummings for an overview of this budget proposals. Indeed, I have been very pleased to have had several opportunities to attend meetings and through various proposals in the budget.
Councillor Mason, may I interrupt, Madam?
Sorry.
Have you got your microphone on?
I have now, thank you.
Thank you.
All the information I have received has been peppered with numbers and costings and financial figures. However, I'm somewhat perplexed by the lack of evidence as to how such funding is allocated and evaluated. In particular, I'm interested in the homelessness prevention grants and the Rough Sleepers programme. How has previous monies been invested, and how is its effectiveness measured? What has been the impact of an appointed homeless officer, and what criteria have been applied to measure any success derived from this appointment? I appreciate that there may not be answers to that at this precise moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mason. Councillor T. Williams.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm delighted to be able to support this budget this evening, because I think what it achieves is progressive ends through conservative means, because it's only through a determined pursuit of financial responsibility that we're able to invest in things that really matter to people right across this district. So I'd like to congratulate Councillor Bowers and his team. On the train here, I checked his LinkedIn and I confirm that his CV does stack up, unlike some. I particularly welcome that council tax has been kept low. We should be very, very proud of that at a time when people need to keep as much money in their pocket as possible. of course, rising by 11p a week. I did have a quick look to see what you can get for 11p a week. In 1994, you could have bought yourself a Freddo. Today, you can buy yourself a third of a Freddo. And if that's not good value, I don't know what is. So it's good to see council tax kept low. Very, very welcome as well that parking charges have been frozen. We all know that the high street is really, really struggling at the moment. That's certainly true in Witham as it is in other areas. And freezing car parking charges really, really will give a helping hand to local business, valued, much loved local business, to keep them going and keep them thriving into the future. And I, of course, naturally very much welcome the fact that there is investments in new community assets in Witham, not least the new community centre and also the new 3G pitch for Witham Sports Ground. These will be first-class facilities that will be treasured by the local community. And finally, just say a word on the community grant scheme. I'm sure all of us across the Chamber tonight very, very much welcome that this has been retained. I'm a great believer in localism. I think that it is us, local councillors, who know best where money needs to go, where those really good causes are, where those good organisations are that need our help. So it's good that that's been retained, and I've been delighted in Witham to be able to support a whole load of good causes, including most recently the House of Grace charity, a homelessness charity that needed their roof fixed. If it wasn't for this scheme, I don't think they would have got the money that they needed. So I very, very much welcome this, as I welcome the entire budget, and I would ask all members to consider supporting this excellent budget tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Councillor Abbott, if you'd have put down an amendment to the budget on the A12 in terms of cleaning that up, I would have supported that. But I'm not sure what the Chief Whip would have had to say about it on this side. And just on the point about Thurrock, it was actually a Labour administration in 2011 that started the Borrow to Invest strategy in Thurrock. It wasn't a blue council, I'm pleased to say. Councillor Beavis, very delighted that you're supporting the budget. I know that deep down you are a staunch Conservative, and we'd love you to come home and you can cross the floor tonight. I jest. Councillor Walsh, this is a Conservative administration budget. Councillors make choices, and the opposition groups could have submitted an alternative budget, and you know that. So it very much is our budget, but we do welcome support from members across the Chamber. Madam Chairman, I can't help but feel that Braintree District Council has been shortchanged by central government this year. The local government finance settlement, as Councillor Bowers stated, the core spending power and the settlement is a 6.8% increase across the country. However, district councils, I think their core spending power is increasing on average by 0.3%, something that's been criticised by the District Councils Network. And the District Councils Network has stated very clearly that whilst other councils are going to have a lot more money to spend on their public services, many district councils across the country will be making cuts. And I'm sure they are making cuts. Thank goodness Conservative run Braintree aren't making a single cut. So that's good news there. And I think the other point to add on that as well, with everything remaining equal, Braintree District Council is nowhere near a Section 114 notice, and I believe that councils like Barnet have recently, albeit a London Borough, have submitted a Section 114 notice. I think what's really at the heart of this, in terms of our council tax, our budget, is really a need to overhaul the funding of local government, something that I'd campaigned on for many years in politics, and I kind of feel we're back to the future. I was having a look through my box of political leaflets I've acquired over the years, and I found one in 2009, and it says, Billy Taylor, the Conservative candidate in Havering, is campaigning for fair funding of local councils. And here we are again advocating for the same policy. And at the time, Havering Council, and the reason why I'm citing this is because I couldn't work out the spreadsheet of this year's funding, but Havering, for example, was £243 per head of population compared to Hackney, which was receiving £1,048 per head of funding, per head of population, which is grossly unfair. And it goes back to the point of district councils receiving a 0.3% increase in its core spending compared to other councils increasing to, on average, a 6.8%. I'm not calling for the restoration of the poll tax. However, if you go to a Chinese buffet and 5 people enjoy meals, 5 people pay for 5 plates of food. However, the problem with our council tax system here is that 5 people pay the same as 2. If a business did the same, they'd go bankrupt. So I'm not advocating for the poll tax, but surely we need to change the way local government's funded, because 5 people in a household using 5 lots of services but paying the same as 2 per household is grossly unfair. So I'm delighted to be supporting this Conservative administration budget. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Staines.
In supporting this budget, especially the implementation of the Community Asset Fund, which was proposed on this side of the chamber and now enjoys cross-party support, I do share Councillor Cunningham's concerns about the resident disconnect and ask, has a budget been considered to establish a parished Braintree Town Council in preparation for the emerging unitary vision? Senior officers in the National Association of Local Councils are very keen that all residents are represented at parish level, especially within larger authorities. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Staines. Councillor Bowes-Flint.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I rise to support this budget, and obviously I could talk all night on housing and what we do for housing. I do welcome the extra £500,000 being set aside to provide funding to the most and we will spend it in the most appropriate way on the growing pressures that we now have on the availability of temporary accommodation in this district. I would be the first to admit that we are in a fortunate position that we do not have the same challenges that our neighbouring authorities do. However, that doesn't mean to say that we don't have them. We are most probably in that situation as well, because we've done good in previous years, and so we should do. The council is also this financial year going to receive £878,858 of homeless prevention grant, which is £220,000 more than the total amount of the housing prevention grant for 2024-2025. I was a little disappointed to hear Councillor Mason's question on how we spend our housing prevention grant when we have such an excellent record of spending our housing prevention grant. That information does come out to you, members, but perhaps, Councillor Mason, you have not seen it in the way that it comes out to you, and I will make sure that you are aware of it. But trust me, we spend every single penny, and we spend that wisely, and that is why we have such a good reputation on preventing homeless, because we look at the prevention rather than the cure when they stand on the doorstep here in Causeway House. We hope to tackle that before it gets that far. We also, I think Councillor Ayton was referring to the disabilities grant, the disability facilities grant that we do. I would say to you, last year we was getting extremely worried because by September we'd spent most of the money. that's how in demand it is, because what's happened is now the cost of the grants are more because they're for complex more works, because the people's needs are more complex. So we are going to get 1.3 million this year, and we hope that we were supported with some funding from Eastlight, and that's why we have managed to eke it out, and we hope to do the same. But I would say to you that there are much more applications, they are more complex, and they obviously, because of that, cost a lot more money. So we do spend every single penny and some on that. So that's hopefully answered both of your questions, although I was here to support the budget, but I'll just try to help everybody as I can. The other thing that I will say, because obviously with my portfolio it covers a lot of areas, and there's a lot of challenges in there, but one thing that I am very, very pleased to inform you this evening, members, is we are launching Beat the Street on the 5th of March at Braintree Museum, which is a fantastic health initiative for children. And at the moment we will be the only second one in Essex, only district, city or borough, that will be running it. So it's an achievement again for this council to be able to do that, and I welcome everybody, telling everybody out there about how good the Beat the Street is for everybody's health. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Bowles-Flint. Councillor Rickey.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. No surprise that I too am rising to support this budget this evening. And firstly, can I just also commend officers for their tireless work, Councillor Bowles-Flint for his tireless work to get us to this point this evening. And the other thing we can't lose on this point, members, is that this has taken us 4 sessions as a council team to get to this point this evening. There are many councils locally and nationally who find out about their budget and they receive their agenda pack for the council meeting that it is being debated on. Let's not lose sight of that fact. And I think that's testament to the work, as I said, that's been done by officers and by Councillor Bowles-Flint, so thank you for that. Councillor Walsh, just a quick point on national government policies. It's absolutely incumbent on us as a local authority to make sure that we can make a budget work when we are influenced by the decisions made by national government. If we didn't do that, we would be missing the point of what we are doing, or we're supposed to do as local councillors when we are setting a budget. We mustn't lose that point, and we have to highlight that when we need to. Madam Chairman, there's a number of things in this budget this evening which I am really proud of. So one is the continuation of the small business relief for our small businesses. The other one is staying within the Essex Pool collection, which means that we get to keep a lot of the funding within the district, which we can then reinvest into our small businesses and initiatives such as the Plaza and I Construct, ensuring that we support our local businesses from inception. We also have an additional line, we also have a continuation of the line that allows us to be a member of the North Essex Economic Board. We are an active member of that forum, and we are a leading voice for making sure that we champion businesses here in the local Braintree district. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Rickey. Thank you to all the members who have contributed to the debate this evening. As all of those members who have indicated they wish to speak have done so, I will now invite Councillor Cunningham and Councillor Bowers to close the debate as the proposer and seconder. As a seconder, please can I invite Councillor Bowers to speak first. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I was just trying to make sure I was covering everything off, but I think Councillor Bowles-Flint's answered a couple of the questions for me already. So, yes. Thank you. I think it's been a good debate tonight, and thank you for everyone's participation. Just wanted to make a few sort of comments myself. Thank Councillor Beavis as the leader of the opposition in regards, obviously, supporting the budget. I agree with her in regard it being a good process, but also at the head of the chairman of scrutiny as well. aids that process definitely, and that which I think we would all echo on this side. Yeah, just to clarify, as I was reading it, I was thinking, should I say financial year rather than calendar year kind of thing? So yeah, no, you was correct in that point. Just in regards, Councillor Diamond asking in regards to the fees and charges and what sort of process that goes through. There was a new charging policy agreed in 2024 after consideration at the Corporate Scrutiny Committee, which sets the framework for service review and charges. So it goes through that process. Obviously, as I've referenced in my speech, cost of services, statutory limitations, service needs all fit into that, and the actual and it's all set out in the papers tonight in regards where we're at with the fees and charges. I thank you for Councillor Taylor's comments. Totally agree with the points on the core spending power. In regards, it hasn't been great news for us as a local authority, but we have still managed to produce a balanced budget, but one where we are not making cuts in that I'm sure others are needing to. So I agree with those comments. I just wanted to just go back to a couple of points that Councillor Abbott has made tonight. Firstly, on the point about well, there's a couple of points that was made. One in regards to Silver End and about comments I might have made in the past and that kind of thing. He did tell me ahead of the budget that him and Councillor Wright were going to put in an amendment for Silver End, which didn't actually materialise. But I think just to clarify in regards to Silver End, we've had capital bids before in regards to the Bowls Club, but we need to remember that this council has responded to requests. We have put a new drop curb in. You know, we've had no recent communication from the Bowls Club. There was an installation of the new drop curb to access the grassed area, and that was included within the club's lease at no additional rental charge to the club. So I think that's worth referencing. He has also asked us to fund the fence in something that's not our responsibility, our property. And if we started doing that all around the district, you know, where would we be with the finances that we make use of as it is? Also, his comments in regards to the 2.97% on council tax and the cost of living crisis. Yes, we are still appreciative of people are still have those challenges, no doubting. But it is worth remembering that there's a lot of non-statutory services, a lot of discretionary services that this council provides, such as money that's been invested in previous years into planning enforcement. We look at things like health and development, health and well-being, you know, sustainable development and that kind of thing. There's also, it kind of reminded me back about when a couple of years ago when Councillor Abbott was the leader of the G&I group at that point, when the amendment on the table was about increasing council tax on a reduction level of 1% at that time. Now, if we'd gone by that, this year we would be seeing another £172,000 shortfall on the budget. If you look at the compounding that year on year, then we would be seeing another over £1 million on the lifetime of the MTFS. So I know he references near enough that we shouldn't be worrying so much because there's going to be a new authority or whatever. We will still manage the finances the best to our ability. We will still produce services. We will still invest. We will still have capital projects to do. And we need to be mindful that the next authority, whatever it might be, is still going to need to be in a good position and be producing a balanced budget. So it's just mindful of some of these tough decisions have to be made, but they are made for the right reasons. And if we do sometimes go away from that, there are impacts in regards what we can do as an authority, what we can do for our residents, in regards when we are being able to produce a budget that is no cuts on services while we are still producing stuff, and also things like the the Community Assets Fund, which I think we've got total, I feel that we've got total agreement across the chamber. Obviously everyone's waiting for more detail as that comes forward and how that will pan out, which I'm looking forward to bringing forward in the next financial year. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Bowers. Councillor Cunningham, would you like to make your final speech?
Thank you very much indeed, and I'm delighted to bring the debate to a close. An excellent debate, and can I just thank everyone who has participated this evening. And I mentioned earlier on in my budget speech, and I'm actually quite pleased I did, that acknowledge that this is quite a special council. All members have the best of intentions, and I think that debate really encapsulated those principles of this place and of the crest that sits behind you, Madam Chairman, this evening. And first of all, can I just echo my thanks to the Leader of the Opposition, Councillor Beavis, for her response to the budget, and give her an undertaking when reflecting on the Fit for Future programme. As mentioned, yes, we will hit the pause on certain aspects. We will continue our fundamental service review because they will help play an important part in informing the services of the future, and particularly with regard to the capital investment in this place, which I understand was a concern for members of her team. We will behave responsibly with that. Measures that can be taken to improve the working environment and functionality in the short and medium term will continue. But in terms of those longer term decisions, we will take a responsible approach to that and look forward to updating colleagues further as we go through the civic year in terms of the Fit for Future programme and how it dovetails into the emerging devolution and local government reform work. I'd like to thank Councillor Mary Cunningham for her speech on the work we do with communities and supporting the communities, at very much at heart of what we do and what we will continue to do. And I'd like to thank particularly Councillor Holland for his excellent assessment of the support given to rurals and the great complexity we have of serving a district of this size that has large urban communities and a wide rural area. And I think he addressed those concerns absolutely superbly. Councillor Edwards quite rightly mentioned the impact of policy on the disadvantaged and the less well-off across our district. They are across the district, but he would be particularly aware of those in elements of his community, those who are suffering economic difficulty in his ward of Bocking South. Councillor Gabrielle Spray acknowledging the importance to ensure we have a fit for purpose planning function as that work continues, as the local plan work continues in this period of great change. Councillor Abbott, I thank his broad support, just in terms of a couple of clarifications and some of his points, if I may. With regard to the A120, this is additional funding to service waste collection along the A120. The additional funding is required because the traffic management requirements to do that work have increased. So that's where the additional funding. Money for the A12 is in the budget, but the A12 is a larger problem, and only a small part of the A12 actually goes through our budget. He made some our district, my apologies, sorry. He did make some interesting, yes, but the A12 goes from London Borough of Havering to the Suffolk border. That's not all in the district of Braintree. He made some interesting points about the waste review, and it's not in excess of £4 million on new bins. That is a budget that has been allocated to manage any change that is required, change management mechanisms in terms of rolling out a policy that will be imposed in some way upon us by government. We have to respond to these central government policy changes by the start of the next financial year, beginning in 2026. And money that is going to be allocated as part of that budget will be for a comprehensive communication package. And part of that comprehensive communication may well see, and this is a great moment for the Independent and Green Group, the return of green calendars or garden calendars to emphasise the changes. So we're happy to give them that one, absolutely, on that, in the spirit of compromise and consensus. So I hope that allays some of his concerns on that. I think Councillor Coleridge gave an excellent assessment once again of our responsible approach to New Homes Bonus. Councillor Walsh, I once again thank him for his non-political, mild-mannered assessment of events in the nicest possible way. I don't think he's moved that far away from when we had our first introduction from him with his gag poster back in the autumn of 2018, and we all remember that, and Councillor Santamora with the old banging gavel, do you remember that? I don't think he's moved too far away from that, or maybe indeed from when he was a Labour Party candidate actively espousing Labour Party policies as a candidate for them in local elections. But I take his point, but can I just reassure him that the charge for the first green bin in this garden waste subscription service is frozen from last year. So I just want to give him that reassurance. Thank you to Councillor Williams for his reminder of what 11p a week looks like. Grateful for that, but also his comments on the budget. And indeed, Councillor Taylor quite understandably made the point about a fair deal funding for local government, and I'll touch on that second in my concluding remarks. Councillor Staines, I thank him for his general support, and I appreciate the point he has made in echoing my concerns about the disconnect potentially in new arrangements between councils and the public. My points at this stage were more around service design and service delivery, where I think we have a uniqueness, for want of a better word, at district level, particularly around community support and economic development, is being that much closer to our population. We understand the needs better, and that I think was particularly evident in the COVID design. I think it'll be up to service design to ensure that we have the quality of expertise, the increased quality and breadth of service, but actually making sure we still have that local connection. What sits between the unitaries and the citizen is going to be an important part of the debate. This will be something that the new councils will want to take forward, but it's important that communities set their high expectation, engage in future consultations, and make a case for what they want to see in supporting their what will help support their local communities. I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all. I don't think it's about imposing parish councils or town councils. I think it's for communities to decide, and for the future successive organisations. There are many different models that could be deployed to ensure there isn't that disconnect deficit, but where we do have some element of control and skin in the game is through that service review and service design phase, and we look forward to playing an active part in that. It has been a good debate, and Councillor Ritchie towards the end mentioned the support of, that we continue to give to the economy, our businesses and economic development. There's always in these debates, there's always a little bit of political backwards and forth. All I would say is to our colleagues, and they'll forgive me because I made a similar pledge, a similar request when I was asking for more highways funding from central government to Labour colleagues at Essex County Council. Please, we didn't win the election, we are not the government. With the greatest respect, you have far closer connections to the government than we do. Please, can you take away our collective concern and desire as we go through this period of managing business as usual and great change to get that longer term financial settlement from government, to give the whole process that assurance. That would be our ask from you today, if you can help us with that, and I think we're very much on the same page of that. Successive governments have been rubbish at that, I totally accept, but now I think it's needed more than it's been ever needed before. But thank you all again for an excellent budget, and we look forward to it getting the vast majority of support in the council chamber this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cunningham, for your speech, closing the evening's debate on the council budget and council tax resolution. Members, the budget recommendations and council tax resolution, as set out in the reports, have been moved and seconded, and we will now proceed to the vote. As we have been advised in the guidance, this vote is a single recorded vote on all the recommendations for the budget and council tax resolution. I will now hand over to the Chief Executive, Dan Gascoigne, to conduct the recorded vote. Dan.
Thanks, Madam Chairman. Councillor Abbott. For. Councillor Ayton. Abstain. Councillor Bohr. For. Councillor Beavis.
For.
Councillor Bond. For. Councillor Bowers. For. Councillor Bowers-Flint.
For.
Councillor Coleridge. For. Councillor Courtauld. For. Councillor M. Cunningham. Councillor T. Cunningham. Councillor Diamond. Councillor Edwards. Councillor Finch. Councillor Finkin. Councillor Garrod. Councillor Green. Councillor Hayes. Councillor Heath.
Abstain.
Councillor Holland. Councillor Hooks. Councillor Jeffress. Councillor Martin. Councillor Mason. Councillor Monday. Councillor Prime. Councillor Rajiv. Councillor Ritchie.
4.
Councillor Schwer. Councillor Spray.
4.
Councillor Staines.
4.
Councillor B. Taylor. Councillor W. Taylor. Councillor M. Thorogood. Councillor Van Delken. Councillor Walsh. Councillor Walters.
4.
Councillor E. Williams. Councillor T. Williams. Councillor Wrench. And Councillor Wright. Thank you.
Thank you, members. The result of the recorded vote is as follows. 32 members have voted for the event, for the budget. 9 members have abstained against the budget, and 0 members are against it. The budget recommendations and council tax resolution has been approved. Thank you, members. We will now proceed to the agenda item number 6, questions to the leader and the cabinet. Members, during this item, you may only ask one question of the deputy chairman, deputy leader, and the cabinet on the matters to which it relates to their functions, the powers and duties of the council, or matters pertaining to the district. Questions must be succinct and cannot be asked in parts. Supplementary questions are not permitted. I will allow some explanations if it is necessary, but I will curb any long-leading statements. We will only have 30 minutes for this item. Please, can all members wish to speak or ask a question this evening now indicate, so we can make a list. Please keep your hands raised until you've been acknowledged. Thank you for your patience, members. I will start with Councillor Beavis as the Leader of the Opposition, and the order of the remaining questions for members will be at my discretion. Thank you. Councillor Beavis.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and my questions to the Deputy Leader of the Council, and it follows my request to the Leader of the Council to hold an extraordinary meeting on local government reorganisation, which I know has been agreed. Can the Deputy Leader tell me who is writing the bid, which includes Braintree District Council, and will a copy of that bid be made available to all members ahead of its submission to the Minister on the 21st of March? Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Beevers, for her question. In terms of the actual formulation of the bid, and it's under quite a strict and pressured timeline, Tendring District Council, to coin a phrase, holding the pen on this in terms of collating the information from the 12 districts, county council and the 2 unitary authorities, with significant input from all constituent authorities and considerable policy input from the resource of Essex County Council and other officers across the local government authorities. Once the submission is formulated, it will come to this council in that meeting in March for full debate. So colleagues will get it in advance. And I understand we have a members' meeting in advance of that, where there'll be a further briefing for all members, and as always would actively encourage all members to be present for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cunningham. I'd like to call on Councillor Bowers-Flint.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. It's just to go on to Councillor Mason's question to me, and I appreciate that she's only been a member for 2 years, but just to point out that there is a homeless and rough sleeping strategy that was launched last year, where it's all explained, but also on the council's website there is a whole page on homelessness and the prevention grant and how it's spent and what we do, so that you will find extremely useful for the question that you asked. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bowers-Flint. May I call upon Councillor Jeffreys?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Sorry, I've got bad back. I know. It was my birthday last week. I am definitely getting old. I don't want to talk about national politics. It's not our place to be talking about how the Labour government are having to deal with years of problems with the government. This isn't the place for any of that. What I did want to say is that there is quite a lot of money coming into the district from other areas. We've got money for potholes, Better Care Fund with Essex County Council, some of the things some of the members have mentioned tonight. I think the problem is that somehow we're not getting the information, and I appreciate everything that Councillor Bowers-Flint said in replying to the items on housing and rough sleepers, but there are other funds that are coming into the district that are really good, and there's some really good work going on, but I just feel that some members are not getting all the information that we should be getting. So I don't know if there's a way that we can do that. And it might just be that the information is there, but members are just not being able to find it. So maybe it's something that we should be considering when we're talking about future training and things like that. I'm happy, of course, to speak to government when I'm speaking to the government. As you know, I often am, to try and get make sure we've got funding for the devolution. But I'll be on the phone straight away.
Thank you, Councillor Jeffreys.
Thank you very much. No, I'm very happy to respond to Councillor Jeffreys. I thank her for her restraint in not talking about national politics. But no, she makes a very useful point. And with regard to getting more information, I will obviously pass that back to the leader on his return. But in the first instance, perhaps maybe she'd be happy to take that up with the Chief Executive. And I'm sure both the administration and the senior corporate team can look at ways to make sure we can, if there is a need to disseminate information more clearly and more frequently, I'm sure we can do that and we'll work towards that. So very happy to give her that undertaking. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cunningham. Councillor Wendy Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. And this is a question for Councillor Bowers. Following the great news today regarding the new Headingham Medical Centre, as Headingham Ward members, would it be possible to schedule regular updates for Councillor Beevers and I regarding these proposals?
Excellent.
Thank Councillor Taylor for your question. I think I've always tried to keep members updated as much as possible. I know there's been a bit of hiatus in regards information and that kind of thing. I think I'll always try and update yourselves and Councillor Schweer also as the county member, but we also do need to remember that this is one medical group.
Out for consultation about bins and recycling of waste. This regime out for consultation is drastic proposals being put to residents. Could this have been avoided by improvements and updated services over many years? I believe that over many years this Conservative council there's been a lack of investment over many years of money invested in bin collections and recycling. They did away with the leaflet, suddenly they're going to reintroduce it. Is this panic mode? Because throughout the country it's now been shown that whereas Braintree District Council was one of the top recycling facilities in the district, we were proud of it many years ago. It was very innovative, and now the last few years it's been run down, and suddenly it doesn't look good, does it? So suddenly it's out for consultation, drastic things have got to be done. So what my question is could this have been avoided by gradually improving services over many years and updating them and having something more innovative? Now the public have suddenly been having this thrust upon them that they've got to be consulted on proposals that are very different from what they've been used to. Thank you.
I thank her for her question, but I would just respectfully say that this fundamental waste review that's been carried out, that's out for consultation, is a response to some of the most directive changes in government policy regarding this that we've probably had in decades. And as a result, we have gone to consultation. There's been an excellent response. What I would say in terms of about our past approach to waste collection, recycling has declined as a national trend in recent years. That is a behavioural aspect right across society, and by changing the waste collection method, including collecting far more from curbside in terms of glass and other materials, hopefully that will stimulate a great switch in terms of consumer behaviour. Madam Chairman, as I say, our recycling rates have remained favourable, comparable to other local authorities in our wider area. And I look forward to the next all-member update where we will be able to update where we are in terms of the consultation, explain some more behind the rationale of all the proposals, and because there is no firm decision on one proposal yet, and actually hopefully share some more of the analysis in terms of what goes into the bins and how its impacts. And I think all colleagues will find that information and that evidence very illuminating. Thank you.
Councillor Rajiv. Thank you, Madam Chairman. My question is for Cabinet Member Councillor Mrs. Cunningham. There are a number of young people who are interested in how the council works and in turn what a councillor's role is within the council. Does the council have any provision or means of helping educate these young people? Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Rajiv, for your question, and I know that is something that is very close to your heart. Our Children and Young People's Officer and our Community Services, Community Engagement Officer have been working with schools on several programmes, one of them being the Crucial Crew programme, the other being the Creative Careers event. And from these projects that they have done, there's been a realisation that the children see officers from the council come into schools and they ask the question, what is it the council do? What is the council for?
perfectly reasonable question for young children to ask. So our officers, who are obviously very keen, have come away and thought, well, how can we actually harness that interest? And they've been working with the Braintree District Educational Partnership and Braintree Council together to actually further their interest. And I think, well, no, I don't think, Madam Chairman probably stole my thunder with her speech earlier. You attended the Democracy Day, which was set up as a result of these talks with the children, and the children were brought into the chamber on Democracy Day. The elections team at the council were key to working with the community services, and they set up a polling station. They did real voting. They had a proper count. Those famous black ballot boxes that we all know and love were brought out. And it was a really, there was other things done as well, but it was a really successful day. So following on from that, I would fully support, and I'm sure Councillor Rajiv would fully support, and other members too, to actually bring children in to a full, either a full council or certainly a public council meeting. And who knows, we could be looking at a future Member of Parliament amongst them. Certainly, I'm sure we'll be looking at future council members. And I hope that answers her question. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mrs Cunningham. Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The question to the Deputy Leader. I apologise, it's going over a bit of old ground which you've just answered the question on. It's good to see that we have had a large response to the waste collection consultation of over 7,000, and I'd like to say well done to the council officers for their hard work. Is there any early indications of any improvements to the proposed changes?
I thank Councillor Wright for his question, and I absolutely agree with what he said about the excellent work that's been done by officers, not just to get to the proposal to the starting line, but particularly the communication package, which I think has been absolutely superb. Obviously, we must wait until the consultation closes, and we'll give then go undertake a full analysis of the responses. And it will be too early to say at this stage. We don't want to preempt the final outcome of the consultation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cunningham. Councillor E. Williams.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. At the recent corporate scrutiny meeting, there was comments made about the gym facilities at Plaza Horizon 120. Please could the Cabinet Member give an assessment on how this facility fits in with the overall ambitions for H120 and why the inclusion of some gym equipment is not as controversial as it seemed at scrutiny? And would he be willing to reflect on some of the amazing benefits of Horizon 120? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. In regards to Horizon 120, I'm the lead Cabinet Member responsible for the asset side and the actual project. Councillor Ritchie is the lead Cabinet Member responsible for the employment side of the site. So if I just give a bit of a understand or a bit of a background in regards to the site and what is there, and then I'm sure Councillor Ritchie can give a little bit more detail in regards the gym premises and what's happening there. So over the past 5 years, the Council delivered on its promise to create a modern, quality design and welcoming business park for the district at Horizon 120. We did have a member reference group at the very start of this, which was cross-party. Former Councillor David Mann was part of that. Councillor Abbott's been part of that in regards to assisting with the design and the overall structure of the site. So there's a lot of work that's gone into it. In choosing to develop the park ourselves, we've taken control of the land and made it a huge success with many employers, including Careco, Essex X-Ray, Mediquep and British Offsite. And some of these businesses, which I've had the beauty to visit, are actually quite very innovative and actually groundbreaking, definitely. With the planning permission and legal arrangements now in place for the development of the adjoining 36 acres as phase 2 of the park's development, we're looking forward to the site moving from strength to strength and being able to employ even more people in the Braintree district. I will hand over to Councillor Ritchie, who will give a little bit more detail in regards to the gym premises and what that means for the employers there. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yeah, just to carry on from what Councillor Bowers said, and thank you, Councillor Williams, for your question. As members will know, Countryside had a master plan for Great Notley about 30 years ago, and one of those was to deliver a business suite. Now, we could have not picked up on where they reneged on not developing that site, but we as a council, as Councillor Bowers said, picked up on this and delivered what is a truly remarkable business and employment site for the district, delivering high quality jobs. You mentioned some of the great companies that are currently working there. As part of that, we were able to secure funding through CELAP to help us deliver a quality plaza, and within that plaza we are employing, or there is a hatchery which is inspiring new businesses to work, new businesses that will filter through into this district. So there may only be one or two people from a particular business working in the hatchery, but the hatchery is full with over 30 plus people working there, which I think is testament to the blueprint of what the plaza it was supposed to deliver. As part of the blueprint for plaza, we must forget that we included things such as making provision for things like a creche and other facilities within that to enable people to be able to work there with busy functional lives. So the fact that one of those rooms hadn't come to fruition in the way that we had thought it was going to come, when someone proposed a gym, why not? We had a number of members there who said they'd love to have a gym there and use it as part of their working day. And the good thing about of allowing that gym to take purpose there is it also meant that there was another business working out of Horizon 120, which then in turn means there's some business rates for us as a council too. So in the circular sense, it made great sense to allow that gym to come forward in that spare room. It's having great benefit and great uptake for the users of not just the plaza, but for people that are working across the Horizon 120 estate. So it's not just the people in the plaza that are using it, it's being used by the whole of that estate. And if I can remember it rightly, I think the question came from Councillor Beavis. Breen's Gym in Swan Street, if you did want to signpost your own ward members to a gym if that's what they're after, day rates are £7.50 and a competitive £400 a year fee for contract gym services. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Ritchie. Councillor Diamond.
A resident in my ward struggles to leave his home. While he has a blue disabled badge, parking on his street is limited. He's applied for a disabled parking bay to be added, but has been told it will take at least a year. Why must a process so essential to someone's well-being take so long? And what can be done in the meantime to help him? Thank you.
Thank you, Raj. I'll take that in the absence of the leaders. It's a matter relating to parking. I'm presuming from Councillor Diamond that the circumstances of the resident are known to the council and have been investigated. If he's happy to give me the details afterwards, I'll give him a full comprehensive response. Thank you.
Councillor Walsh.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. A question to Councillor Gabrielle Spray on planning. I appreciate that a substantial amount of work has been underway on a fairly substantial revision to our local plan. How is that going to be completed, and in particular, how will it be incorporated into the anticipated new unitary authorities? Hopefully it won't have to go back to anything close to square one again. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman, and through you, thank you, Councillor Walsh, for your question. If I may, I would just very quickly answer one, because I realised you asked a question during the budget debate on Section 106 money and whether the sum of money was increasing or decreasing. It doesn't need a written response. The answer is it goes up and it goes down. It goes down when the NHS, for example, or Essex County Council Education Services come to us and ask for the sums of money that we are holding on their behalf for various projects. and then the figure goes up again when new Section 106 agreements are signed as a result of planning permissions being granted. So it's a sort of movable feast, really, if I can put it that way. To answer your question on the local plan, we are on track. The issues and options consultation finishes, I think it's 7th of March. The results of that will be evaluated by officers and will come to the local plan subcommittee for them to have a look at. We then start on the call for sites meetings, which are probably the meetings that are going to be of most interest to residents, where the local plan subcommittee, which I chair, will take a look at the sites that have been put forward by landowners and developers, and with officers' assistance we will be evaluating those. And there are then another further consultation methods to go through. We are on track. The second question, how is devolution and LGR going to affect it? The honest answer is I don't know, and I think that is probably an answer that members will get to many of the questions around how is Devo and how is LGR going to affect this, that and the other at the moment, is we don't know. I most sincerely hope that we will not have to go back to square one. That's rather a depressing thought. And I do hope that we will be able to complete and have a solid and sound local plan in place for this area at the end of the next couple of years. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Spray. Councillor Staines.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not entirely sure who to pose the question to. Maybe you can help me out. Treasury stands to benefit to the tune of 1.2 million in the 2025-2026 figures. Is this interest income derived from Home Office grants, S106 not released, new homes bonus received but not yet paid, etc.? If so, residents in the places to be helped by these funds will be disappointed to learn that their pain seems to be the council's gain. To support residents, should not these general treasury gains be earmarked in their corresponding capital, as this will help these funds keep pace with inflation and not to slip into general funds, which will reduce their real value versus their intention, especially as Councillor Space pointed out, it can take some time for these monies to be spent. Thank you.
Just thank Councillor Staines. Councillor Bowers.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yes, the main impact on the increased Treasury income is down to the interest rates, and this is why going forward year on year we can't guarantee on that because what like we expect to happen is interest rates will come down even though they're coming down slower. But as part of the budget process, we factor a lot of what we got into our year on year. So if you look at the actual budget for year 26-27, a lot of that money is factored back into the budget, even though we have still got a substantial gap that for the next year. So in regard to your question, I don't think it's relevant to what the main part of that money is, and it is factored back into the budget, and we are very transparent about that, and that's always presented in regards to corporate scrutiny committees with the performance report and financial performance and the like. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Bowers. Councillor Abbott.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Following on really from what Councillor Walsh asked about, question to Councillor Spray as Cabinet Member for Planning. It's no surprise to herself or to me that particularly for those residents and communities where their local plan maps are a sea of red, they are very concerned and interested in the decision-making process. Can she confirm, would it be possible that we get the earliest notice possible of when specific sites are coming up for those allocated meetings which will take place in May and June, rather than just the normal week, to give people a chance to put submissions in or to attend, working around holidays and school times and all that type of thing? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bowers. Abbott. Councillor Spray, thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, thank you, Councillor Abbott, for the question. I am well aware that there are a lot of concerns around the district from residents and ward members as well about the, where sites have been put forward, and I have discussed this with relevant officers. Officers are starting to work up the agendas and the order in which the various sites will come forward for discussion, and I have already spoken to them, but I will reiterate the importance of getting those agendas out in plenty of time so that parish councils, town council representatives, residents and interested ward members have plenty of notice so that they can register to come and speak at those meetings. I do think that's very important, absolutely agree, and I will make sure that we can do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Spry. Councillor T. Williams.
Madam Chairman, I understand that recently there was an event held here marking Apprenticeship Week, and during that week many council employees were recognised for their excellent work. Can the relevant cabinet member please set out what this council is doing to support and develop its apprentices going forward?
Thank you, Councillor Williams, and yes, I take joy in answering this question. I had the great pleasure of attending a ceremony or an event in this chamber where we was rewarding certificates for a number of apprentices in National Apprenticeship Week, and it was well attended. We had many heads of service, many corporate directors. The chief executive was here and said some words. Ironically, even one of our heads of service received a certificate as part of that, which shows us wide ranging of the apprenticeship programme at this council. Apprentices from the council, it completed apprenticeships from levels 2 to 7. Apprenticeships can be embarked on any age and level, providing an ideal opportunity at any stage of any career. Level 6 is equivalent to a degree now, and level 7 is equivalent to a master's degree. We currently have 23 apprenticeships at this council. 8 of these are employed as apprentices, and 15 are completing apprentices as part of their ongoing professional development. Apprentices in customer services, digital services, accountancy, housing, operations, community services. Those enjoying professional development in strategic investment, procurement, revs and bends, audit, HR, planning, operations, economic development, housing and accountancy. How the council recruit apprentices has changed over the years from having cohorts once a year on level 2 apprenticeships to recruiting on an as and when basis, which we do now, and offering apprenticeships between levels 3 and 7. We actively encourage services to consider apprenticeships for vacant posts depending on the level. I believe our first apprenticeship cohort was around 2009. Those apprenticeships at the time were in HR, community services, governance, museum, finance and housing. And just as wrap up, I'd like to actually put on record my thanks to Daryl Miller, our Organisational Development and Learning Manager, and Adriana Day Patterson, the leading officer on that, because their work they do is absolutely phenomenal, and the passion they've got for this area of the council does need recognising. But you know, this just gives a bit of a flavour in regards to what's going on in this authority. And thank you for the question and allowing me to give that detail to council. Thank you.
Thank you, members. I'm afraid we have run out of time now, unfortunately. But any questions remaining, please, requiring a written response, will be answered within 10 working days of this meeting and shared with all members. Any members unable to ask their questions this evening may wish to submit their question to the council via the written question process, responses to which shall be shared with all members. Members, this item concludes the business for this evening. Before I bring this meeting to a close, please may I remind all members that there is an extraordinary member meeting of full council on the 13th of March, Thursday the 13th of March at 7:15. Members have received calendar invites, and the agenda will be published on the 5th of March of this year. Thank you for your attendance and participation in this evening's meeting, and to those watching on the Council's YouTube channel. The recording of this meeting will be published on the Council's YouTube channel as soon as possible. I now formally close this meeting of the full Council at 9:31. Thank you for your attendance.